Let me go ahead and hit record. I didn't know it was going to record that fast. Hey, welcome back to the Shy Within podcast. Jaycee Neudorf is a faith-based dating coach and the go-to voice for single women who are done playing small and ready to date with confidence, clarity, and purpose. With her signature blend of humor, heart, and holy confidence, she's helping women shift the way they approach love, making dating feel lighthearted, aligned, and actually fun again. JC's clients don't just get dating advice, they experience deep transformation, walking away rooted in their worth, clear on their standards, and magnetic to what truly aligns. She's where faith meets feminine confidence, and her mission is simple. Help women remember they are the prize. JC, oh my goodness, I miss you so much. And I'm so happy.
I miss
Like
you.
I kind of feel like this podcast is going to be about you and I catching up, but I know we have some important topics to talk about because I missed you. And ladies, audience, gentlemen, even JC is a friend of mine, and I haven't talked to her in almost, I want to say, a year or so. And we were in the same community, female community together, and she is always like my one of my favorites, I swear, if not my favorite person there.
Aw, you're my favorite too. Don't tell anyone.
I know, I know they're all going to listen to this too. Like, hey, I thought I was the favorite. No, we love you all. You're all our sisters, and we love you tremendously. So I am just so excited to have you on the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing so good. I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited to catch up with you and talk all things dating. I think it's going to be a really, really powerful conversation.
Yes, and let's dive right into dating. Online dating and dating apps can feel like an emotional roller coaster, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, as a faith-based dating coach, how do you guide women to approach these platforms without losing their peace or their
Mm.
standards?
Yeah. So when you are showing up as a Christian online, like as you're dating online, it's in my perspective, it's really important because you're setting yourself apart from like the world because you're not like dating with the intention of like dating the same way that everybody else is dating. You're dating in a way that centers around God, that glorifies Him and leading and allowing Him to lead you through the process. So you're going to be receiving, it's going to be easier because you're receiving the discernment from him and you're going to be given the clarity and the peace from God. But you also have to set yourself apart and you're going to have to raise your standards and date differently than probably what you've been used to or what you've seen online or what other coaches are teaching you because you're dating differently when you're focusing your dating life around God.
Yes. Oh, I love it. And I feel there's so much more purpose and it's more meaningful when you have God's blessing. And that's how I think the Lord has brought my husband and I together. It was
Mm.
definitely divine timing, and that whole union between he and I, it
Hmm.
is just so amazing. So yes, oh,
Hmm.
I love it because before well, in my drunken days, I should say, I
Been
was,
there.
yeah, I was, I'm gonna be real, but I was like sleeping around, drinking, partying, and I really didn't get into good relationships because I really wasn't good with myself.
Mhm.
And I thought, well, once I became sober, I thought things would get easier, but it's still a little bit challenging, trying to figure out who you are. I wanted to date the Lord instead. I was like, I don't want men. I want to date the Lord. I want to get to know him. And then by me getting to know him, I got to know myself, which was
Mhm.
amazing. And then that's what led me to
And
then.
then you let God write your love story, which is so powerful because yeah, I've been there where I used to that's why I do what I do because I've experienced both. I've experienced like dating in the world and I was heavy into like the hookup culture and just going on dates, to get a free meal or like, go on a fun
Yeah.
adventure and that was good and all, but like I wanted more and I wanted to experience more and since beginning my walk with God, it just like really showed me how peaceful, like there will be hard times, but when you're doing your dating life with God, you have that freedom and that like security that you're looking for. Like when you're not dating with God in the center, you're like looking for you don't have a strong identity in who you are, and so you're looking all in all directions to like feel that security Sometimes you get a little desperate in the dating apps. There's a lot of things that can go on. There's so many things that it can bring up, like rejection, people pleasing, like wanting men to choose you, like so many different things that can come up in your journey of online dating.
Yeah, and that ties in with my next question because I know you're about dating with purpose and playfulness. We have to have fun with it
Mm,
too, right? What are some of your
totally.
favorite ways to help women have fun on dating apps without feeling like they're wasting their time or compromising their values?
The first step is to really dig deeper into your relationship with the app. So this is like what I do in my coaching, in my different programs and things, and in my one-to-one work is really creating a better relationship with the app. So like your perspective of the apps, your mindset around them, having clarity on like what you want to experience and like what your standards are in online dating and what like we know what we don't want because a lot of us have experienced things that we don't like and we don't want to go on. Like if you do, obviously we don't want to get ghosted, we don't want the situationships, all that stuff. And so it's really important that you shift your mindset around the apps and then you can gain clarity on the standards that you have. And then from there you can bring in more like what I always tell my clients is to bring in curiosity into your dating life. That really like takes away the pressure. Like when you're going into it with, you're almost like observing, like you're letting the men do what they want, like letting to see how they act, how they respond, just with a curiosity mindset. And then you can like look, you can kind of lean back and like see how they're acting because you don't want to tell them what, like, it's important to tell them what they want. But if you're like, hey, I need this, or like telling them to show up in this way, you have to allow them to show up in the way that they're going to show up because that's how they're going to be for their relationship and like if you like marriage and all those things. And so I always tell my clients to go with like a curiosity mindset because that really allows you to take away the pressure. It allows you to have more fun. It allows to take the pressure off. It allows you to not control the situation. And going into that will just like take like that weight off your shoulders when you have that curiosity and that playfulness.
Yes. So going back to those days that I was talking about earlier, I felt like I wanted to control the men. Isn't that so sad? Like I felt like I needed to be in control and it had to be my way. I was so in my ego that I really needed to learn how to stop controlling everybody else and start taking control of my own life.
Mm.
And of course, with God being in the picture and with his guidance, it allowed me to let go. And then, just like you said, let them be. You want them to be themselves, and that will just let you see if you want to still continue to
Exactly. You
date
don't
them
have
or
to do
not.
anything, literally.
You can
The
filter
clarity
them
is
out.
right there.
Right? Oh my goodness. Oh, I remember that. I was like, ah, well, yeah, I was thinking back then. I'm like, oh my goodness, who was that Gina? There's that Bible verse, die to yourself. I literally died to myself and then just got
Because like
refined.
God's plan too is so much greater than like what we
Yes.
could think. Like and
Right.
when and sometimes we think like, oh, I know better than God. Like I know way more. Like I know what I need. I know what my person looks like or like need. I know what he'll look like. Like no, like maybe God, but God gives you those visions and those things. But it's so important to like but we do it out of like fear. Like when we're trying to control something, it's the lack of certainty. Like you don't really know how long you're going to be single for. You don't know how the date is going to go. You don't know who you're going to connect with on the apps. You don't know what situations you'll be exposed to and like experiences with men, what kind of conversations you're going to have. Like, is he going to ghost you or is he different? Like, there's so much uncertainty. So it's like a very deep-rooted pattern that we do in dating a lot of times is, and I like experience this, I've experienced this in my own life, but also like my clients, and I've helped them work through these things of really I don't even know what I was saying. I totally like when you're rambling and then you just like forget what you're talking
It
about.
happens to me all the
Yeah,
time.
okay, control. Like that is like when that's why we control things and that's why we tend to do that in dating a lot is because we just like we want to be on the other side, but I always preach about like really being in the present moment is going to help you so much and when you bring in that playfulness, you're going to automatically like release that pressure.
Yeah. Now let's talk about confidence because I'm big on confidence and clarity and
Mm.
purpose. And I know you are too. So many women shrink themselves or second guess what they bring to the table. I know I used to as well. What are some ways single women can go ahead and show up on dating apps with that, how you say you are the prize energy?
Yes, I always say that because I want my clients, anybody listening, anybody that's listening that's in their singleness, to walk into the date and just like know they're the prize and know that like they're the perfect fit for their future husband. I always say this because like we always, a lot of times women go into their dating life or they go on a date and they're like, I hope he likes me, but like we need to shift that to like I hope I like him
Mhm.
because that's really what it's about. When you can like really feel confident in yourself, you can feel confident in what you bring it to the table and you know you're the prize because that will really shift your energy around dating and it will be so much more fun and you'll receive a lot better like matches and like bigger conversations and your dating life will lead you to something so much greater and like to your person when you can keep that mindset because your husband is at the same level. Like he's looking for a confident wife that knows, excuse my language, but you know, you're the shit. Like
Yeah.
seriously, like
Yeah.
you know, you are the woman that the perfect fit for him. Like you know, you're the one for him, and like same as like you know, your husband is the one for you. And just like you don't want to date somebody that's insecure and like doesn't know how does isn't like rooted in who they are. And the same thing goes with your husband. Like he's really looking for somebody that aligns with him in that way. And so it's really powerful when you shift your energy from I hope he likes me or like just feeling super insecure and like not knowing. I know it can feel really it's really easy to get into those patterns and then I don't want to invalidate that, but when you can show up confidently and just like show up with that energy and just like trusting God and showing up as the woman God created you to be, it's going to feel a lot more powerful.
Amen to that, sister. I love what you just said. Yes. Now, I know we've seen some wild stuff on the in the online dating space, right? I know my sisters had told me some horror stories that she used to do a lot of that. I don't even know it was called match matchmaker. I don't know. This is back in the day, like maybe
Oh,
20,
that was a while ago.
like
Yeah.
15, 20
Like
years ago. I don't
Plenty
even
of
know if
Fish
that
or
still
something.
exists.
I think there's matchmakers still, but like, I don't know.
Right? I don't know these apps or not even apps anymore. They're websites, I guess. I don't know. So much has
Like speed
changed.
dating?
I don't know, but she told me some horror stories and she's like, can't do this stuff anymore. But can we go ahead and riff on a bit of the red flags and even like the green flags when it comes to profiles, messages, and that first
Mhm.
conversation? What should women be looking out for?
Yes, this is so good. So I'm going to go back to clarity for a second because of course, there's the obvious red flags, like things like get away from me type thing, where it applies to literally everybody. But I think there's a lot of power in when you can have a lot more clarity and the vision of you, of the person you want. Because if you're listening to this and you're not a believer and you're listening to my values, are the things I'm looking for are going to be a little different. Like, let's be real. Like, if you're looking for something that's casual and I'm like over here trying to find my husband, like being on the path with God to like meet my future husband, we're going to be looking for different things. So it's really powerful first to gain that clarity. What do you want? What are your values? What are your non-negotiables? And then from there, you can establish the red flags and the green flags. But I'm going to list my favorite, like my top, I'm going to just riff on the ones that I think are the most important that I've realized. So this first one is interesting because a lot of people don't realize this, but this is like the number one thing that I always talk about. And that is if they become very like, all they talk about is your body or they become very like sexual, like they make weird comments about your body or like talk about intimacy or sleeping together way too soon, like in the first few messages, like if they bring up your body and that's it and they don't actually get to know who you are, like this is the biggest one of the biggest red flags. This is a clear like sign that he's not actually interested in who you are. Like it's so important to see if he's actually getting to know you, asking about who you are and asking deeper questions about like what you're looking for, what kind of relationship you want, and like if you're on the same page with those things. Like you want to be on the same page about if you want to have kids and what kind of relationship you want, if you want to be married. All these things are so, so important. And like what your vision is for that. Like what is your vision for your everyday life when you are with somebody? Like what things are super important to you? That's really important. So definitely dig like if they're actually getting to know you, like it's really And like this also has to do with like your profile. So if you have, this is why I don't have a lot of full body photos because guys, if guys just constantly like you're like it's important for us to do our job like as how we show up on the dating apps. And like I'm not saying you can't have a picture of yourself. Like I do. I have I think one photo of me like living my life and you can see my full body because you still don't want to be like hiding yourself.
Yeah.
But I am very intentional about this because this will just bring in a lot of men that like are kind of creepy and like not in it for what you want. And so that is like my biggest thing. Another one is if you're going on a date like to a restaurant or something or you're grabbing coffee, like pay attention to how they treat servers. This is like a big one because this person is serving you. They're bringing you your food and they have to kind of have to be nice to you. And so if people get triggered by like something going wrong with your food or like they lose it, like this shows you how they deal with conflict or they deal with when things aren't perfect. Like you want to see these experiences because it will lead to the bigger things. Like these things are so, so important because like one of my main values is emotional intelligence. I am looking for a man that makes me feel safe, secure, is a Christian, and also like is emotionally intelligent. And so that is and like self-awareness because I'm very self-aware and I want somebody to be on that path. I'm not here to fix anybody. Like no, no, no. And so it's really, really important that you bring in these experiences and get to know them in these like situations and serving and like being out in the restaurants and stuff like that. That will allow you to see exactly how they're treating people. What are some other things? Oh, just also like if their actions don't match with what they're telling you, like that's a big one. You want to see how they act. Like for me as a Christian, if they are saying they have a relationship with God, but they never go to church or they're never like actually reading their Bible or things like that, like and like they're not like living a life that reflects that, like it's really important to identify those things. Don't just listen to what they say. I want to see like the integrity piece, like are they practicing what they're preaching? And do like their actions align with the relationship you want down the road?
Yeah. So somebody a long time ago told me for you to really observe their behavior, their character, their values, really pay attention if the man is how they are treating one, animals,
Yeah.
two, their other women in their lives, like their sister or mother, and
Yeah.
three, children. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's a good one. But it was interesting because my maybe he's changed now, but my husband wasn't a big animal person. It's a quick, cute story because I had just posted a reel not too long ago saying, I think my husband's been noticing that I'm kissing our cat more than I'm kissing him. So we went to, so my husband's never had animals before. You know, he always saw stray dogs and they were kind of vicious and he was grew up in India. You know, I'm a furry lover. I love dogs. I love cats. I love all furry friends. Well, I wanted to get a cat, and we went to a place called Mini Cat Town. It was over at the mall in San Jose, where you can go ahead and pay like $15 fee to go ahead and play with the cats. And if you connect with them, you can go ahead and then adopt them for a nice price. And so that's what I did. I was like looking around and everything. And so my husband was with me, and he went off, and then he's like, "Hey, what about this cat right here?" You know, and normally you know how cats are supposed to choose their human and not the human choose the cat chooses the human. Well, that cat chose my husband because it was playing back and forth, back and forth. I said, "So you see, that cat chose you. It even chose me." And I tell him to this day, Zim never chose me. It chose you. But now he's embraced animals so much more. But I don't even know. I went off a tangent. What I was saying is that I notice him now with animals. He's more open and more loving to them. And I'm like, oh, yay.
I
But
had to
he's
train him a little bit. Just kidding.
is because we got his son a guinea pig for his birthday, and that's he wanted it for the longest time. Or his son, my stepson, I call him my son as well. And he just was so excited. But at first, my husband was like, I don't know if I want that in the house. I said, oh, come on. But anyway, what I was saying is this, yes, observe how they treat animals, how they treat other women in their lives. and also children, and then go to that restaurant and see how they react with that server. And maybe they didn't get their onions in their burger when they asked for it and they start yelling at them. That's a red flag. Okay, stay
Or like
away.
if there's a kid screaming and like running around, like that
Yes.
could be a
And
good
they're
one
like,
too.
"Oh,
Like
shut up, kid. Kids are
that's what
so
I mean about the
annoying."
observing. Like just pay attention. They will reveal their character really quickly.
Yes, pay attention. Now, any other big mistakes you see women making on dating apps?
The number one thing that I talk about this like a lot in my content, but not being your authentic self in the apps, like especially when you're making your profile and you're talking to the men and you're like having conversations. Like I think so many times women are like, oh, I hope they don't ghost me, or like I want to find a boyfriend or a relationship. And so they dim their light and they sometimes act the way that they think they should in order to like be chosen or to be loved. This is like something that comes up a lot. And also just like not really knowing how to use the apps, that's like a big one, but like really playing small and not being like who you really are. This and then like the apps getting really boring and like have when you're having the same like I know you're married, so but what I hear a lot from my clients is like they have the same conversations over and over again and the same like, hey, how are you, what's your favorite color? Like no, like women don't want to experience that ever.
What's your favorite color? Oh my goodness.
Like we're like in our 30s or late 20s, like we don't want to talk about our what are we in like kindergarten? Like no, and like so many women say like why? Or I don't want to go through this again. Like I don't want to reintroduce myself a million times. So when you are your authentic self and you have because like these men are swiping on the apps, they're looking at your profile.
Sorry, I'm going back to the favorite color.
Sorry. They're looking at your profile and they don't know you. And so they're choosing something to respond to. So if you have nothing interesting on your profile, they're like, okay, what do I ask? Like, because they don't know who you are. So they're trying to think of something to like message you about or like hit you up or make the first move and they like don't know what to say. And so this comes from like when you are authentic and authentically yourself and you are showing up as who you really are and you're being a little bolder and a little bit more sassy or like you're bringing in your personality, it makes dating a lot more fun and the conversations flow so much easier because you're you're giving them something to respond to. That's like the easiest way I can say it. That is like the number one thing. And that's where a lot of like, and then the men, you're having a good conversation, so they're just going to effortlessly meet up with you and things like that. And so that is like the number one thing when it comes to the apps. Also, like getting really burnt out by the apps. I think it's really important to have like really strong boundaries around how much time you're spending on them. And like we talked about before, like your standards for them and like what you want to experience. And really like romanticizing your single life, but also the process of like finding the one. And it's really exciting. Like when you think of it, you're single. A lot of people in this world have already found the one, and it's like exciting to meet the one and like date and like meet new people. And I think so many times people don't see it in that way anymore. And so it's really important just to like bring that spark back in your singleness to really like romanticize this process because it doesn't have to be so like discouraging and disappointing.
I know, like, what do you say to someone who feels discouraged, like saying, all the good ones are taken. I don't want to do this anymore.
I would say the first thing is to really like connect with God and like make God the center of your life and like romanticize, like find the joy back into your life. That's like the number one thing I would. Maybe like if you're feeling super discouraged, maybe take a step back. Sometimes we like forget who we really are when we're on the apps. And if you're kind of like losing yourself in the apps and you're kind of feeling really pressured to find somebody, sometimes it's good just to like focus on your own personal healing because a lot of times what we experience in the apps is a reflection of ourselves. Like we have to remember that dating apps are just a tool. They're not like, as you said, a matchmaker. Like they're not this like magic wand where you're like, okay, I'm gonna go on the apps and the first person I swipe on is gonna be my husband. Like you have to be super intentional with that. And so it's really, really important that you make sure to live your life and do the things in your life like on a regular basis that are going to bring you joy. And if you're feeling discouraged, like, where is my husband? It's really, remember, God is super powerful. Like, God is going to make it happen. And so the more you connect with him, like, he's going to bring you that wisdom and he's going to he's gonna take away that pain from you. Like you don't have to go through this alone. He's always by your side. And really look for proof. Like look at all the proof where everybody else, like sometimes we need to look at other relationships and like not to compare, but like look at the people in your life that have found love, like or who got married, or somebody that was like in their 30s or whatever. Because I work with a lot of women that like are in their 30s and they're not with their person yet. And so it's look at all the couples in your life that have found their person, and like love can happen at like literally any moment. Like you can meet your husband tomorrow. Like you really have no idea when. And just remember, God is going to make it happen. If that's in your heart, like if he gave you that desire in your heart, it's going to happen. That's what I fully like believe, and like the Bible proves that over and over again. And so I would just recommend to just like connect back to yourself, connect back to God, really find joy in the now, and remember that like your singleness isn't something you need to run away from. And a lot of times if we're struggling so much and we're disappointed a lot, it's because we're not really thriving in the waiting season or this your singleness.
Yeah. So if you feel discouraged, give it to the Lord, give it to God and say,
Hmm.
okay, I give this to you. Give me some peace, please. And just be grateful for what you do have. And God will
Hmm.
show you the rest, I believe. I truly believe it. And
Hmm.
going back to this story about meeting my husband, I don't even know if I told you, but how you mentioned actually that you can just find your husband the next day, right? That
Hmm.
happened to me when I was not looking at all. I felt like I was not in the right place to be dating a guy. I was anti-guy, and
Anti-guy, you're like, I've had enough.
I had enough, because I was in early in my sobriety, and I told you I just wanted to date the Lord. And I didn't want to date anybody, and I would get these messages, oh, hey, how are you doing? Like, delete, delete, delete. And this was just like on Facebook Messenger, on Instagram, and I'm like, I don't like this. But at church, they had a prayer box, and I knew that I wanted to have a family unit one day, 10, 20 years from that day that I was doing writing out those prayers and putting in the prayer box. Well, then my husband wound up coming in my life about a month later, a month or so later. And
I
I'm
love
like, I'm
that.
like, no, no, no. So give it to the Lord and you will see magic happen. You are so, so right, JC.
Mhm.
Yes. Yes. And I
And
love,
when it's on God's timing, like things
yes.
that happen fast, like all of a sudden things can, like everything can happen. Like you can be in a waiting season, and I know I've been single for like 5 years now, so I get it. I'm right there with you, sister. I know how much like self-awareness and like faith it takes to just trust when you see everybody else around you married and having like 6 kids and all that stuff. So it's
Thanks,
really
kids.
important to remember like God is it, you're not your waiting season isn't for no reason. Like it's gonna really prepare you for the marriage you want. It's gonna really help you to be there for your husband when he's going through things. Like it's gonna make you so much stronger in a relationship. And when you can feel whole and complete on your own and like from God and bring and help him to make you feel whole, then when you find your person and you can come together as a union, like it's gonna be so much better than and powerful. Like it's gonna give you the relationship and the love that you actually want, and versus being with somebody that isn't your person and then being with the wrong guy and like just settling, all those things is not worth it. Like the temporary gratification or the temporary like satisfaction of being with somebody and not being single isn't worth it to be with somebody that isn't God's best, because it will be 100% worth it when you receive it.
Yes, patience, patience
Mhm.
for
Yeah.
sure. Oh, yes. Now, I love that your coaching isn't about tactics, it's about transformation. And here on our
Mhm.
podcast, we're all about transformation. What kind of inner shifts do your clients typically experience when they start dating through the lens of faith and self-worth?
I love that question. The number one thing is really healing their perspective and relationship around like rejection. I think that is one of the biggest things, or being too much and like a lack of confidence. Confidence is one of the like that just always happens, like literally no matter what we do. There's going to be so much more confidence, but rejection, that is like the number one thing that's really holding back so many women when it comes to like their singleness, having that faith, and also like dating again and dating to actually find your husband. that is like the biggest thing because rejection, we've all experienced rejection in some way, and a lot of it is through relationships, and it can come up a lot in dating because obviously if you're on the apps, you're going to experience rejection. You can't avoid it. You can't like try and not get rejected. Even if you're like in a healthy relationship, at some point you're going to have that feeling of rejection in some way. And it's just a part of life and you can't escape it. You can't run away from it, and you have to go through it. And rejection is redirection, and it's never like God doesn't want us to feel that pain, obviously. Like he isn't like intentionally giving you things to feel rejected, but he wants you to see that it's not rejection. It's really just like him closing the doors that aren't meant for you. Like in the long run, it's so worth it to like the rejection is way better than being in the wrong rooms and being in the wrong relationships and being with somebody that isn't your person. Like rejection is protection or redirection.
Yes. And what is your take on divine timing? Especially,
Mm,
we were just talking about this, especially, staying grounded spiritually when you're still waiting for that person.
mm. I think, yeah, it's really like God's timing is always perfect. Like he knows, like, and so many times we think he's like late or it's way too late. I'm
That's
like,
what I always said
but
before.
I heard this a while ago, but like when you think of like being on time, like when we think of being on time, it's literally right at the time we're meant to be there, right? You're not early, you're not late. It's literally right at the right time. And I feel like that is also when we think of God's timing, like sometimes things do happen really quickly and they happen way sooner than we expected. You see it all the time with like pregnancy or marriage or things like people meet in high school all the time or like really super young when they're not expecting it. And then there's some moments where you have to go through a waiting period and you really have to trust God in those moments. And it takes a lot of faith and patience in those seasons. But it's really, really important that like, you know that God's timing is perfect. And once you receive that thing, you're going to see why you had to wait. Like, obviously, like, you have to go through things and you have to, like, the development of who you are. Like, I've been single for 5 years, as I mentioned, and the things I've been able to experience in the last 5 years, I would have never experienced if I like met my person. Like the people you meet, the experiences, the confidence. Like I've solo traveled, I've done like super fun like experiences. I've met so many incredible men, and like I've gone through so many experiences, and I would have never done those things if I was with my person. Like I wouldn't be able to find my confidence through like traveling by myself and like going, I went on a solo cruise last year, like all these things. And it really shapes who you are and shapes in the woman that God created you to be and all those things. So when you see it in that perspective and everything you're working on, it's only going to make you be an incredible wife and partner.
Mhm. Yes, I feel like that waiting period shapes you.
Mm,
I think this
yes.
guy, God is not guy, God is trying to refine you, molding you, right? To be
Mm,
who he, for you to discover who he designed you to be. Because sometimes we dim our
mhm.
light, we don't really understand who we are. And it isn't until we have that relationship with God, then, like I think I mentioned this earlier in the podcast, and we start then shining within. And then, of
Mhm.
course, we shine without. And yes, and then you're going to be attracting a whole bunch of males. I'm going to tell you.
We're going to be everywhere.
They're going to be everywhere.
After we work together, like.
Line waiting for you.
Yes. But it's really just, yeah, about stripping away all those things that we are like conditioned to believe, or like the the expectations we put on ourselves, or like having that permission to like be who we really are. Like there's so many things that we're like limiting ourselves. It's not like the world or like any of those things. Like it can come up through like experiences, but so many times it's because we like what we think we can have or what we think we're capable of. And that also goes into like your relationships and like your dating life. And like you think, especially when it comes to like women not thinking they're going to meet their husband, like you're limiting yourself on what you think is what God is capable of and like what you're capable of.
Yes, and I always say this, remember, God doesn't make mistakes. He designed you perfectly.
Mm-hmm. Agree.
I feel that. Yes. Now, for the women listening who are just ready to delete all those dating apps and just give up on love, what would you go ahead and say to encourage her heart and maybe even inspire her to give her like one more try? One more try.
I would say they work, but you have to be in alignment with them. Like my biggest tip, it would be to do it differently. Like what you've done up until now hasn't worked. So it's not that the dating apps don't work, but we have to like realign ourselves, get back to like the basics and get back to like really understanding. Like it's not that love isn't for you. You just have to learn how to utilize the dating apps because dating apps is nobody's really taught on how to date online. Like I remember being on the apps like when they first came out and they're so different. Like it's just like there's so much that people don't know. They've evolved so much too since COVID. Like there's just like dating is so different now than it was even 5 years ago. And there's not really any like updated information about it. So that's why I master the dating apps so that you don't have to. And so I can fast track those results for you because I've been there. Like I went before I really understood them and understood how they work. I was constantly like, deleting them and re-downloading and then like getting on them and like, oh great, I have to do this again. So I was in the cycle of like I call it like the dating cycle because it can like feel really draining. And so I would encourage you to really work on your mindset, work on what your brain is telling you, what your reasoning is, like really clean up your mindset around this. And I did give you a journaling thing, journaling thing.
It's a
Dating mindset
gift.
journal.
Yes, it's a
Yes.
gift for our audience. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, for sure. So this is a journal for your online dating experience. So I had this in my membership and now I'm giving it to you guys. And so it's all about like your standards, really having that discernment with God, like clarity and like having that vision for your future relationship, setting standards in online dating and like your dating process. And as you're dating, you're going to have all these things come up. And so this will really help you to have a mindset that will allow you to believe in love and believe in God's possibilities and believing in finding your person and really having that confidence and that clarity so that you can go into dating with a clear mindset. But yeah, your mindset is like the number one thing I would recommend doing, like when it comes to the dating apps, your experiences, what you think is possible, also your relationship with men. This can impact so many things. Like if you have this like resentment or anger towards men, or you like are like afraid, you don't feel safe around men, like all these things that can come up in past relationships and these old patterns. And then when you're on the apps, it's going to impact really feeling open and having a vulnerable heart to meet your person.
Yes, I love that. Now, side note or a side question, what are your favorite apps? Or where, because I'm sure the listeners are like, well, which app should I go to? How can they choose and filter out which one's best for them?
I like Hinge the most because it's like more interactive. It doesn't really like because you don't have to like be swiping on them for like, some people get into like get kind of burned out by them and they're like swiping for hours. Like, no, we don't do that. Me and my clients, we do like 20 minutes maybe to swipe to find, but like I don't really swipe. I just like go to my likes and then I just have conversations mostly. And that's what works for me the most and my clients. Like I love Hinge and you can do Bumble. I just don't like it how the girls have to message. Like I like that there's the clarity piece, like you know that you have to message them. So like if you're somebody that's like, oh, like do I have to message, should I message him or is he gonna message me? I usually wait to see if they'll message me. And remember your profile has a big impact on that. So that's like where I would start with that. But yeah, I like Hinge the most. I wouldn't really recommend Tinder unless you're just wanting casualties or like to have some fun. No judgment, but like yeah, that's not for me. But I've been out like I used to go on a few dates with Tinder because that's usually what was at that time. That's the only app that was available. So I prefer Hinge or like Bumble, but I usually am just on Hinge. And a lot of the times like the men are on multiple ones because so I would just go on one. Just choose one that like feels like the most important thing is like what lights you up like when we are talking about having fun on the apps. Like that's why I go on Hinge because it's fun. Like you can come up with the most funny like prompts. I actually came up with some. So if you need that, like I have a program all about your dating profile and I like created all these like plug and play dating prompts.
Oh, fun.
To really like spice things up and have more fun on the apps. But it's really about like where your energy is because if you're going on there like I hate this app the way it's set up, then you're not going to show up powerfully and you're not going to want to go on it and you're not going to be intentional about your time on there. So I always say like wherever you feel the most lit up. For me, that's Hinge. And sometimes Bumble, like Bumble isn't too bad. I just like don't like that the girls have to message. That's literally the only thing. I like them to come to me, okay?
Yeah, I feel you on that. I would like that too. I don't want to go to them. You know,
Right?
I'm kind of old school. Before I wasn't old school. Now I'm a little old school where it's like I want them to be gentlemen, to approach me
Mhm.
kindly,
To be
and
pursued, all that stuff.
yes, exactly. Oh my goodness. Well, where can our listeners go ahead and connect with you and learn more about your coaching?
Yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram and I'm on also on TikTok and Threads. Those are like my main ones. So you can find me on there, you can message me on there. And then I also have the freebie that I'm giving you guys. And so if you have any questions about that, just email me or get to know me and we can chat. I have so many free resources and then I have a bunch of different programs. I have profile or programs on your dating profile. I have a dating challenge and then I have like one-to-one coaching as well.
I love it, JC. Well, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with this dating apps because I personally I've never actually used them because I was married for so long before. And then I told you I became single after yeah, I think it was how many years was I married? Maybe 11 years, but we were separated for like a good 4 years because of the drinking and everything. It was just
Oh,
really ugly. And then I was single, but then like I told you, I didn't want to date anybody, so I didn't go on any apps or anything. So this is helping me understand more about these apps. So I appreciate you sharing because this is where it's all about. This is where it's all
yeah.
at
That's
using
where
these
how
apps,
people meet their husbands now. Like, and
right?
like you can go out, but like, why not just
It's easier.
have a fun like solo date and like get swiping? Like, it's a fun time if you make the experience, right? And
Yes.
I just, yeah, I'm really passionate about it because I see so many women that are struggling with them. So I want to help you so that you can stop feeling so discouraged and give up on love.
Yes, I love it. Well, thank you so much for being on my show, JC. It's so nice to
Thank you
see
for having
you.
me.
Of course, we gotta do this again.
Yes, for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.